Hey, Mike here with Canadian musician, and well, the words legend and icon get thrown around a lot, but it's certainly fitting for the man on the line with me right now. Randy Bachman, of course, singer, songwriter, guitarist of the Guess Who and Bachman-Turner Overdrive, but we're here to talk about his latest project, simply called Bachman, which sees Randy teaming up with the all-female rhythm section of Anna Ruddick on bass and Dale Ann Brendan on drums, and their new album, Heavy Blues, is out on April 14th through True North Records and features an amazing list of guest guitarists, including Neil Young, Peter Frampton, Robert Randolph, and the late Jeff Healey. Randy, I know you're a busy man. Thanks so much for taking this time for me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so let's start off. Obviously, with Bachman, like I mentioned, the all-female rhythm section, Anna Ruddick on bass and Dale Ann Brendan on drums. Was it the intention from the start, A, to keep it a three-piece but also have an all-female rhythm section, or was it simply a matter of they were just great players?
All of the above. What happened was about a year ago, January, I was into the Musicians Hall of Fame in Nashville.
Yes.
So I was down there last January, and, you play on stage. So I'm inducted with Dwayne Eddy, Brenda Lee, Will, there from Paul Schaefer's David Letterman's band. Ben Keith is inducted, Neil Young's pedal steel player. Peter Frampton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, a bunch of guys. So we're all on stage playing our songs, and in the end we all play LaGrange with Billy Gibbons. And Neil was there because Ben Keith was inducted and had passed away, so Neil was there to talk, and thank them and that kind of stuff. And Neil came to me and said, so what's up, what's shaking, which we always do every time we see each other. And I said, I can't believe it. I got offered a record deal from Jeff Kulowick, who's now the head dude at True North Records, and things have kind of changed. There's no record stores, but I'm getting a worldwide deal, and it's pretty much all downloads, and there's a bit of hard goods like at Walmart and things like that, but everything's kind of changed. But I'm thrilled to have a deal. And he looked at me and he said, okay, don't do the same old crap. And he meant that in a nice way. Yeah. And call it new, because it's just an extension of what you've been doing. So stop, reinvent yourself. Write new songs, get different guitars, get different amps. He said, I do this every 4 or 5 years. I do an acoustic tour, then I tour with Crazy Horse, and I bounce around, and it's a lot of fun. It's a challenging thing. It's great to be scared again if you put something out and frightened like you were 15 and you're playing, high school in Winnipeg or something. You have that fear, because we don't have fear anymore. It's playing the same notes over and over that people want to hear, the classic rock hits, and you got to play them exactly the same. There's not a lot of improvising. That's why I did some jazz things for a while, just because it's scary and it's new and it puts you on the edge. So a year ago in July, I had gone to Stratford to see the new premiere of Tommy.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there with Des McCannis, who produced it. It's all digital, right? All the sets now are digital. And I'm sitting next to Pete Townsend. And Pete leans over and he says, the drummer is fucking amazing. It sounds like Keith Moon. And I say, the drummer is a girl. And he says, it can't be. I go, a woman cannot play like Keith Moon. And I said, look at the program. And it said Dale Brendan. I said, no, I think this is Dale Ann Brendan. I've done some gigs with her. I've written some songs and played with a lady named Shelley Raston out of London, and she played with Shelley's country band. And I went and played a couple of gigs with him. And at the end, obviously, I do Takin Care of Business because it's kind of country rockish anyways, in a way. And I'm sure it's a girl. So we go backstage and meet her, and it is her. And I say, wow, I told you about 10 years ago I wanted to do something with you. Do you want to do an album? Just you and me, like the White Stripes, okay? I'll be Jack, you be Meg, and we'll just go out and... Because she plays such incredible full drums, more than just drum beats. She plays like a maniac. And... she had written out all the charts. She has her own drum school. She plays with the Stratford Symphony in the pit and with the Kitchener Symphony. So she's like a real percussionist drummer. Been playing since she was about 10. And she says, sure, I'm in. So I tell my manager that. He freaks out. And he says, you can't do a Jack White just drums and bass. You got to do a little bit more. And at the same time, I was inducted into the Junos last year with BTL. So we're in Winnipeg in, I think, last March. And I go to see a band who's like the female Crazy Horse. They're called Ladies of the Canyon. And it's 4 chicks that look like Neil and Crazy Horse with long hair and flannel shirts and ripped jeans. And they're playing this incredible country rock. And the bass player's Anna Ruddick. And I go, that is my bass player. And so they've never met. Anna and Dale Ann have never met. So I have a lunch. I call them together and say, like, I want to do an album. I don't even want to rehearse. I know how you play. I know how you play. You kind of know how I play. I'm going to play differently. I'm getting all old blues guitars. Before the blues guys could afford Gibsons and Les Pauls and Stratocasters, they all got harmonies and Silvertones from the Sears catalog. Just guides a kid in Winnipeg. So I'm getting all these old guitars from the late 50s, early 60s, and old amps. Bring all your old basses and drums. I'll send you demos so you know each song when I call out a title, and we'll just do it live off the floor. I get Kevin Shirley on a hunch because he's booked for 2.5 solid years. He's one of the hottest producers in the world for rock bands now, and he owed me some favors from the early 90s when he was stuck in Toronto working on a deal to produce Rush, and he got stuck in Canada, and I hired him to do some songs for me that were broadcast live on Q 107. They used to have us right across the country every Friday night, live album premiered. So I knew Kevin Shirley from then, and I sent him an email. And we cut the songs at Metalworks in about 5 days. We cut 12 songs off the floor, just blam. I'd play the demo, we'd hear it, we'd play it through once. Kevin would come and suggest, speed it up, slow it down, move this, move that. So there wasn't really tape or computer editing, it was editing in our mind, so the song would be that way. Okay. And we just laid them all down. And it turned, we were amazed, but Anna showed up at our first meeting in a John Entwistle T-shirt. And I said to her, do you like John Entwistle? And she goes, he's my favorite bass player of all time. Because he was in the pocket, but he also filled all these holes and was at war with Keith Moon. Wow. And I say, I love that. I'm sick of rhythm sections that are boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, and bass playing eighth notes, which is what I was playing on my demos, because it's real simple. Yeah. And so I said to her, when we record, I want you to play like John Entwistle. And Dale Ann, I want you to not play the drums. I want you to attack the drums. The drums are meant to be hit, not played. If you look at any film of Cream, Zeppelin, and these BBC things exist in black and white, you know what I mean? And Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker, from Cream and The Who and Hendrix, these guys are literally pounding the drums like they're trying to kill them. They're just attacking the drums. There's some incredible film of BBC of Zeppelin in black and white doing that. You can just see John Bonham, he's just smashing with all his might. And I say, I need you to drive this band. And they look at each other and go, wow, we've wanted to do this for years. When we studied this music, I grew up through it, right? Yeah. But they've kind of studied it as the epitome of power kind of thing. So we cut it. I used 4 old amps that I put in the big glass room at Metalworks, and we put in about 8 microphones. And we spread the guitar from like an 8 o'clock to about 4 o'clock. So all the mics are like 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So when I play a guitar chord, it is there in every single nuance, every single frequency, because I use little tiny amps and big amps and different microphones. So the guitar just sounds hugiantic. And to put the bass and drums in there pretty mono-y, it really got a power trio sound. And then I went at the last day we cut, Joe Bonamassa was playing O'Keefe Center. Yes. And I've known him for a long, long time. Bachman-Turner played with him a couple of years ago at the High Voltage Festival in London, and I knew him since he was a little kid, and his dad brought him to a BTO gig, and he was like 10 or 11, and he played guitar, and he was amazing. He looked like Beaver Cleaver playing blues guitar. And and he's produced by Kevin Shirley. I mean, they're partners in everything he does. So I go and see Joe, we hang out, and he says, yeah, I'm going to play on your tracks next week. And I go, what? And he said, yeah, Kevin asked me, and I'm going to play a couple of solos, see how you like them. And I'm there at O'Keefe, and I go there in the afternoon, we have dinner together, he's showing me all these guitars he bought on tour. He buys everything. He's like me, he buys old Strats and old Les Pauls, and he carries them around on tour and takes them all home.
Yeah, I've heard you're a real gear junkie.
Yeah, so anyways, Kevin then sends me a solo, and I go, this is incredible. Instead of me doing all my boring self-solos, how about if I ask a few other guys? And he goes, great, go for it, because Joe was the beginning. And so I get an idea, Jeff Healey would love this, and I email Christy Healey, and she says, oh, it would be incredible, and I know Jeff would love it. I talk to Jeff every night, so she says, I'm sure in her prayers, and she misses him dearly. And every time I play one of his songs on my radio show, I get this lump in my throat. I really miss the guy. And I thought, well, I've got live tracks I did with him at Massey Hall a few years ago. And so I write a Bo Diddley song, which is all in the key of G. And I get the song that we did early in the morning, a B.B. King song. So it's all kind of the same tonal kind of thing, same tempo, and I pulled Jeff's solo out of it. I laid in a song called Confessing to the Devil, and it fits incredibly perfect as if Jeff is there. He plays very B.B. King-ish, because obviously the B.B. King song, but it fits very well into Confessing to the Devil. It fits amazingly. It's like he's there. And really, when I hear it for the first time, he is there. Meanwhile, through all this, I'm emailing Neil Young saying, guess what? I'm cutting it with a girl trio, bass and drums. He goes, great move, great move. What do they play like? And I say they play like Ed Twistle and Moon. In fact, people in England are calling him the Moon Twistle rhythm section. Kevin Shirley called them my secret weapon, because I don't know if you heard the tracks.
I have.
They are relentless. They just push and push and push, and they pound and they kick you in the face and they kick you in the face, and then when you go by, they kick you in the back of the head. It's just pushing, 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 and it's like so much power coming out of these takes. I mean, literally in the second take, we are dripping with sweat. It's like we're live, and this is our chance to win over a crowd of 40 people, and we're playing between Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin, and this is our chance as a new band. I mean, we're out there just hitting it like mad.
Well, it's funny.
But it was
no, I was going to say, it's funny, like, right off the bat, you brought up that Who comparison and how they play, because when I turned on the album, right off the bat on the album, the opening track, The Edge, right off the bat, I heard it. I was like, this sounds like, it sounds like something off of, like, Who's Next era, The Who.
When Jeff Kulowick came into, because I said, Jeff, please don't come and hang around the studio. You'll throw us off. I'm trying to create this thing like we're a new band and we're just jamming it out. And if the parents are there in the basement, you don't play the same as the three guys. You know, it's always a performance when someone else is there. When you're there alone, you're trying stuff out. Mm-hmm. So he comes in the last day, and the first song he hears is The Edge, and he goes, this is fucking amazing. It sounds like 1968. I feel like I'm, 10 years old or 14 years old, whatever he was in that time here. And I go, wow, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to go to that British blues, which to me was the third big phase. I mean, first it was Elvis, then the Beatles, Stones, which was like the early mid-60s and 60s. The British power trios came and brought the blues, which we didn't like here in America and Canada anymore. Mm-hmm. These guys took Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and reinvented it with louder amps and became power blues, and Hendrix and everybody else came and did that and brought it back to us, and it just blew the world away, and it still is. And the revival of that now in England and the UK the last year and this year, it's like my timing is perfect, but I didn't time it to do that. It's just the way this thing rolled out. And I'm so amazed at how once I got the idea and a little spur on from Neil Young, told him I had, Jeff Healey and Peter Frampton and all these guys, and he said, "Well, I want to be on their tune." Yes. How do we do this, Neil? He was in going to Tel Aviv at the time, and then they canceled his concert because there was 26 missiles aimed at the site. You know what I mean? He was like really busy. So imagine all this stuff came together with solos done by these guys. I mean, I meet Robert Randolph when I play with Peter Frampton's Guitar Circus at the Hollywood Bowl, which is like in August or September. And I asked Frampton, would you play on the album? He says, yeah, but I can't till I've done this tour, which is October the 22nd. We wanted this album out last year, but, when I talked to Jeff Kulowick, he said, you can just let it roll. Let it happen organically. Luckily, we're letting it happen organically, so I asked Robert Randolph, after I see him play, and I go, man, this guy's like Hendrix. He falls over backwards, he pulls his slide guitar on top of him, and he falls on top, and he's playing, and the crowd's going wild. So I go to him and say, is there any chance that you would want to gift me with one of your solos? And he says, no problem, brother. We're guitar brothers. I know who you are. Send me your track. So I send it to him, and he cuts Oh My Lord, and I go, oh, this is incredible. And so I say to Kevin Shirley, like, give this guy a long solo. I mean, there was no solos in the original Oh My Lord.
I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Well, let's just take the intro and make it a zillion times and let him play and play and play till he plays it out. But he never plays out. It gets better and better. The last time if you listen to his solo, the last pass, he goes this little sitar kind of thing that's almost like a clarinet playing Jewish klezmer music. You know what I mean? That kind of weird riff so it just totally blew me away. So I said, we're not going to get any radio airplay anyways. Let's just leave his solo in its entirety. When Frampton sent me back Heavy Blues and I heard it, I just went, oh my, this is incredible. It's like we're in the room together, sweating, and it's midnight, and then, he just walked in and said, I've got 10 minutes to play a track, play me, and he's in between airplane flights or something, it was just, so all the playing from the guys was such an incredible gift to me that was so touching, and even guys that like Luc Doucette, Canadian guy, heard him playing backstage once and went and said, wow, you play like Lenny Breau. He said, so do you. And we both were playing these harmonics. And so the solo he played in Please Come to Paris is absolutely amazing. So I'm playing very slow Eric Clapton kind of stuff in a lot of these songs. And so these guys play absolutely against me, totally against me with a brighter tone. I'm using an old Supro Velcro gigantic blues guitar through old silver tone amps, and they're obviously coming in with their main axe, which is probably a Strat or Les Paul or something like that. So the contrast between me and them playing is exactly what you want. If you're a guitar player, this album is like a Bible for you to get. And now we have the solo songs available as a free download without the solos. So if you're a kid, you can go to the website, download Frampton's song or Neil Young's song with their solo missing, put it in your laptop and play your own solo and put it on YouTube. It's like getting guitar karaoke. And then we're judging these solos, and the winner's going to get to play with me on stage, and they're going to get a free Gibson Les Paul heavy blues guitar. I've got heavy blues guitar picks we're putting in with every package of CD sold, and Optima's giving us heavy blues, or Randy Bachman heavy blues guitar strings, which I just did a deal with Optima Strings. And so when you go to buy my album at Long McQuaid, you'll get a free pack of Optima Strings. You get the guitar pick. You go to download a song free. This is going to be a contest running 107, and we're running a contest through Long McQuaid and CBC. Everyone's jumping aboard this, and I'm so blown away. It's like feeling American Woman, or You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. Two mistakes becoming recorded and going up the charts, and you're going, what happened? What done that's right? I want to remember this and do it again, and you don't know what it is because it's not you. It's just the universe happening.
And I think we're already almost out of time here, but there's a couple of things I quickly wanted to get in, and you touched on a whole lot there that I wanted to ask about, so that makes it easy. But one thing, I'm a big fan of your show, Vinyl Tap, on CBC Radio.
Thank you.
Huge fan of it. And one thing I've always kind of been curious about, knowing your music and listening to the show, is has doing Vinyl Tap, going back, maybe analyzing, rediscovering all these old songs and some new songs, but has doing the show influenced how you're approaching your own music or your own writing?
It totally did. Elvis singing live, Aretha singing live, James Brown singing live, one or two takes, a performance. If little things are off, you don't pitch correct it, you don't move it around with phase shifter or beat. It is what it is. It's like what Neil Young plays a solo. If there's a bad note, sorry, that was it. That was me. Because if I do it again, there's going to be a bad note somewhere else. I'm just flailing and thrashing around. When you hear Neil Young solo on there, it's like totally bizarre, weird stuff. But immediately, you know it's him. The tone and the reverb and the echo and the way he plays and the phrasing is like it's like Hendrix. It's not a guitar solo. It is an emotional feeling and a piece of himself that he's giving you at that moment, and it's just very emotional to hear some of these things these guys played. They really gave a lot of themselves, and I gave them no directions other than, I know how you play. I love you as a guitar brother. Please give me some of your heart and soul, and they all gave it to me. Just amazing.
Very cool. And
listening to the show really took me back to live in the studio. My demos obviously did them on GarageBand, where I'm playing eighth notes on the bass, and I just got a drum loop going. But that's only to get the chords, the sequence, and the tempo of the song to see if it really works, and if I could sing the lyrics. And I had a whole bunch of older blues songs that I was like paying tribute to Jimmy Reed and Howlin' Wolf and Electric Flag and Mike Bloomfield and all this. And when I started to do them, Kevin Shirley walked out of the control room saying, "What is this? Why are you doing this?" I'm saying, well, I'm paying tribute to Jimmy Reed. And he said, well, everybody's done this. You're doing stuff that everyone else has done. Jimmy Ray Vaughan and Omar did a whole tribute to Jimmy Reed. So why don't you take your Jimmy Reed song, which is called Learn to Fly, Fly Away. Even the first line is Jimmy Reed, baby, what you want me to do. And speed it up, and why don't you do it your own way? Write your own lyrics and write your own blues songs. I go, wow, Kevin, I can do that. That's a great challenge, but as a songwriter, I love a dictation like that, or parameters to write in. So I would go home every night and rewrite the Howlin' Wolf song or the Muddy Waters song and bring it to me and go, absolutely incredible, let's just do it.
Well,
and so a lot of songs are written overnight like that.
Well, I was going to say that brings me directly into the next question I wanted to ask, which is I'd come across this open letter you'd written to young songwriters a couple years ago, and in it you're essentially explaining how to write a hit song, and you give kind of the step-by-step process of essentially start with a great song, write some new words to that great song, and then write some new chords to those new words, and then once you have that, write a new melody line to fit the new chords. And is that an approach that you're still using? It sounds like something that you're kind of doing on this album as well.
Well, people have asked me that. I use every approach possible, and therefore I write many different kind of songs. Sometimes I write lyrics, and then I struggle to find chords to fit it to. Sometimes it's a whole chord progression that I can never find a lyric to, like She's Come Undone, and suddenly I hear Bob Dylan go, She's Come Undone, in a song called Ballad in Plain D, and I write, the lyrics just fall into my lap. And when I was first working with Applejack, who became Trooper, they had sketches of songs, but they didn't really know how to write a song. So I said, write me down your 10 favorite songs. So back with Trooper, it's like 73, 74. They come with My Generation, Creedence Heard It Through the Grapevine. I said, that's great. So take that beat and get the format of the song out. It begins with an intro, a guitar intro, because that's very important that you have an intro that's recognizable. A really good hello, this is Once Upon a Time story, and then a really good hook that everyone can sing. And you elaborate in your verses and you tell the story, but your hooks have to be singable. And so let's copy My Generation, or let's copy Happy Jack, or let's copy Sunshine of Your Love, or whatever. And do a new riff, do new lyrics, because that teaches you, I don't know what to call it, an iambic pentameter, or ta-da-ta-da-ta-da, ta-da-da-da-ta-da. You've got to make your lyrics and words fit that particular thing, because you're singing against the guitar, and then you're going to do a cue and answer, a response and a call with your guitar, whatever you're going to do, and pick a ballad and pick a mid-tempo and pick a slow one and a fast one. And so they would come back, and Ray McGuire would have written new lyrics to, let's just say, Sunshine of Your Love. And then I'd say, great, okay, Smitty, you got to get a different guitar riff. And he would get a different guitar riff. Now we got to get a different refrain. The song becomes Raise a Little Hell. You know what I mean? Just bam, just like that. By using these other sort of templates. It's like me saying to you, here's a Van Gogh, or here's an Andy Warhol, I want you to do this with my face, what he did with Mick Jagger's face, or this can of Campbell's soup. You go, okay, I'll get a can of Amy's soup, because, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. And, okay, move the can there and change the label. And, it's using a recipe and then inventing your own cookie or something like that, and making your own cake or something that you then can call Randy's Cake. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever your name is. And if somebody can decipher where you've taken your influences or songs, sometimes that's really good. And if they can't, it's really, really good, because they don't know where you got the song from, and it's called an original song, because you've taken it and you've taken a house and, like Mike Holmes, and knocked out a wall and kicked out windows, and you rebuild the whole house, and people who own the house come back. It's like remake this bar rescue. You're blindfolded. They take it off and go, oh, this is our toilet. Now it's a palace. It's great, and it's kind of like that kind of a reveal.
With these songs on Heavy Blues, were you writing them fully formed by yourself and then bringing them to Anna and Dale Ann, or were you writing as a band?
No, I wrote them alone and threw it out to them and said, I want you to play your best on this. And once in a while, Kevin would come and say, you did something back then, can you do it again? And the girls would say, oh, you like that? And we just kind of jammed them out. It was like pretty amazing. And the minute and usually when you're writing a song, especially with me, and especially in this, for instance, you don't write the complete song. Why waste your time and effort if it's going to be thrown off the album? So you write the first verse. So basically when I'm laying down, I sing the first verse 3 times, because that's the one that created the song and the tempo and the holes and spaces between the chords and everything else. So the minute I'd be done, I'd have the lyric sheet there, and Kevin would say, okay, sing it immediately with that same sweat and the same power. And I'd go out and I'd sing the second or third verse, and I'd move lines around so it made some sense. And out of this urgency, I wrote some of, I think, the most greatest lyrics. And also in the last 4 or 5 years, I've changed my life. I've sold Salt Spring. I got divorced. I moved to Toronto. I got a new band. I still work with my old band. But a lot of changes went through me that were emotional and spiritual and mental and physical and everything else. And that all kind of comes out in the music.
Very cool. And lastly here, because I have kept you longer than I'm supposed to, but just briefly, because like I said, I know that you're a big guitar collector, gear collector, and you're going to be touring extensively through Canada and the States in support of Heavy Blues throughout the rest of the year. So do you have an idea yet what your guitar rig's going to be looking like on the road?
I think I'm going to be taking old amps.
Okay.
Because they've got, when you crank them up, I didn't even use pedals.
Really?
I just cranked these amps up. I used one pedal to roll into Blues Overdrive, which I love, and all that did was push the front end of the amp for my solo, so I'd be maybe 3 or 4 decibels higher. I use an old Supro Valtro guitar that's a big solid body guitar with no F-holes, and these 2 bizarre Velcro or Supro pickups that are like P90s that they just sound incredible. But these guitars are very unreliable. The bridges move, they're like old Gretches. They've got like 20 frets instead of 22 frets. You can hardly solo on your high A, even on high G. It's very hard to reach up above your high A fret on these guitars. So I've now gone to some Gibson guitars, which are much better made and playable, and Gretsch and things like that, and put these old pickups on it, which I go buy an old Supro Veltro guitar and get my tech to put them in, so I get that same sound. And so I'm kind of going for that on this whole journey that I'm on, like these old sounds. Like if you listen to my guitar in this, it doesn't really sound like, and I didn't want it to. I didn't want it to sound like a Strat or Les Paul through a Marshall or a Fender. Everybody's done that. I wanted something that you go, what is that guitar sound? How do you get that? And what is that bass sound? Anna brought 6 basses. And what she ended up getting was a bass I got for Fred Turner that he didn't want to play. That is what he played on BTO. Okay. A Rickenbacker single pickup 4000 bass. After they made the single pickup, they went to 2 pickups. It was never the same. When it's a single pickup, it's right in the space between the neck and the bridge. That's where your 24th fret would be, and that's where the nice harmonics ring out in the bass. And the bass has got such an incredible sound with no EQ. And Anna would try a bass, and Kevin and Shirley would say, "Okay, will you please try the Rickenbacker bass again?" And he'd play that and bring it in and say to her, "Which one do you like?" And she'd say, "I like that one." He'd go, "That's the Ricky. That's the Ricky. That's the Ricky. That's the Ricky." So finally she just gave up on all these other basses and played the Rickenbacker. And I said, "Do you like not playing this?" She said, "No, the neck has got so many frets." And I said, "Just please play it." And when it was all done, she said, "I love that guitar." And I said, "You can have it."
Amazing.
She said, "What?" I said, "You can have it, but I want you to bring it to my gigs." Then she went on tour of the Netherlands with a country band, and she took that bass on her backpack on the plane. She said, "I played it every night. No matter what sound system we used or what amp I used, that bass has got that sound. It's like an old Fender P bass. It's rock and roll." And so that's what she played on this. And then I faced the challenge of, oh my God, I've given her this bass that I got that has this incredible BTO sound, like rolling down the highway or you ain't seen nothing yet. That just sits in the pocket there. I've got to get another one and try to find another one. They're the scarcest, most rarest things. I found one in Seattle on Craigslist, Seattle. Had a guy take it to a radio station where I knew Bob Rivers, the morning guy, and he checked it out and said, "I'll get you this bass." So it was a very expensive endeavor, but part of the sound is that Rickenbacker bass, the single pickup one, that apparently is Paul McCartney's favorite as well, because once he got his Ricky bass, he was in tune. Mm-hmm. Because the Hofner bass is so hard to keep in tune and intonated. The bridge has got to be slanted at such an insane angle, and it's always pitchy. Whereas he got the Rickenbacker, he was suddenly in tune, and I think it was Revolver or Rubber Soul that he started to play that Ricky bass, and the Beatles' whole bass sound changed.
Very cool. And
now my guitar collection, let me tell you one more thing, is being donated by Fred Gretsch, because he bought it, about 385 Gretches a couple of years ago. That's been donated now to the Country Music Hall of Fame. They're building a room on the Country Music Hall of Fame Museum there in Nashville. It's opening in 2016. I'm going to early March to announce this to Nashville and have my picture there with Brian Setzer and Dwayne Eddy and Keith Scott and other Gretsch guys, Dr. Reverend Horton Heat and stuff, to announce that the Randy Bachman Fred Gretsch collection is opening in January 2016. I'm doing a gig there with my Blues Girls, and I'm doing a gig with the Nashville Symphony at the same time to kick it off. And then we announce our Gretsch book is done, because we took photos of these Gretches, which are basically from 1928, 1930 up to the current prototypes. And we picked 150 for display in the museum, and the rest are like duplicates or triplicates and things like that. So it's going to be an amazing thing for guitar players. And now I'm working on a guitar collection.
Very cool. And just offhand, are you by chance going to have any involvement or even planning on visiting that new National Music Center in Calgary?
Oh, yeah, I'm donating a bunch of stuff there.
Oh, cool.
I'm donating the most famous Canadian guitar in the world there, which is my American Woman 59 Les Paul.
I thought that was in Cleveland.
It is, and we're getting it back in about a month or so. It's been there for 5 or 6 or 7 years with my clothes and the Garnet amp and everything. That's coming back, and that's going into Calgary, and it's valued at over $1 million. I'm also putting my 2 white Strats from BTO on there, my 54 Strat, which is super rare, serial number 0212, and then my 60-something Strat, that's a hardtail, that I played on most of my BTO stuff because it's more mellow, and people even thought it was a Gibson on like Blue Collar and stuff, and it was that Fender Strat, just the neck pickup. So I'm donating that, my Garnet Herzog and my Garnet amps, and a lot of my gold records and stuff are all going to the Calgary thing. As a matter of fact, we're announcing that in April. My album is being released there, and I'm doing a show there. I'm doing 4 songs with my girl band there in April when they open that and kick it off. Yeah.
There we go. They're an exclusive. And speaking of the album, Heavy Blues out on True North Records on April 14th. Don't forget about the contest that Randy was talking about. Amazing opportunity to play with Randy Bachman on stage. And around the time of the release of the album, Randy Bachman's going to be heading out on tour. I believe your first Canadian date is April 7th in Sydney, BC. And then you'll be...
yes, and then we tour the West, and then the album is being dropped 14th. I think we're playing the 16th at the Mod Club, and that's where they're going to announce the winner, and I'm going to have the guest on stage playing with me in the band.
Fantastic. And Randy, and for those and future, announced concert dates, go to randybachman.com. I've heard the album. It's amazing. And
thank you.
Randy, like I said, I've kept you here longer than I was supposed to.
That's okay. My next one's I've got to phone them, too, so that's good. They're probably waiting for me.
Fantastic. Randy,
okay.
This was a true pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the
time. Thank you. Bye-bye.